The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
The story of Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, is one of disappointment. Over the weekend, the film suffered a severe blow to its opening box office. The film fell far below expectations, and it has many people questioning the future of Mad Max and cinema in general. Some are wondering, could this have been avoided? Some have claimed it was a foreseeable failure many years ago. In today's video, we'll take a look at those theories and a whole lot more. But before we do, hit that thumbs up button to let YouTube know you enjoy this content, subscribe to WCBS for more, and get yourselves a copy of Wokebusters on Kickstarter, coming this week. Furiosa opened to a dismal weekend performance. The film brought in $26.2 million domestically for the 3-day weekend on a budget of $168 million. As it stands right now, the film would need to make $420 million worldwide to break even. With things looking so dire yet so positive when it comes to critic scores, the tale of Furiosa is a confusing one. Rotten Tomatoes shows the film sitting at a 90%. Critics have been praising the film across the board, with IGN giving the film a perfect 10 out of 10, calling it a masterpiece. Other outlets are doing the same, yet their praise is falling on deaf ears. Audiences are focused elsewhere. After the film failed, speculation ran rampant. There are many possible reasons why this film failed so miserably. Let's talk about Mad Max as a whole and get down to some of the reasons why this happened. At baseline, Mad Max Fury Road is not some extremely massive blockbuster super hit. The film earned $380 million worldwide on a budget of $150 million, and even more marketing. Solid, but nothing too insane. Furiosa, meanwhile, had an even higher budget at $168 million, but it's a big ask for not a sequel, but a prequel follow-up to out-earn its predecessor, particularly for one main reason. It's hard to pitch a Mad Max movie without Mad Max actually in it. The actors do a phenomenal job, but this is a prequel spin-off of a side character in Fury Road who is not even being played by the same actress this time. It's a bit confusing for the public, or at very least, not super appealing. You do in fact need to have a concrete awareness of events of the first film, even though this is a prequel, lest it end on some anticlimax. This is actually so essential to the film that it gives you a full highlight reel of the first film at the end to reinforce the villains do get their just desserts, and Furiosa emerges victorious in that film. Finally, critic reviews simply don't matter much in terms of overall box office, or at least they can only move the needle so far. Furiosa has an exceptional 90% score from critics, but in a lot of ways, it's only preaching to the already converted. It does not seem likely George Miller was going to mess this up, and clearly he didn't, but the movie needs more than just Miller diehards. Another problem facing Furiosa has affected other 2024 releases like The Fall Guy. Since the pandemic, a wait time between a movie ending its theatrical run and being released to digital is increasingly shortened. The Fall Guy's poor box office performance was capped off with the announcement it would be released on digital only 2 weeks after releasing in theaters. This shrinking wait time is causing audiences to stop spending money at theaters in favor of cheaper home video options, which has evidently impacted Furiosa 2. Again, Furiosa's status as a prequel is likely a factor contributing to its poor box office. In recent years, prequels to giant movies simply do not have the same pull as they once might have. Some instances include Solo, a Star Wars story, and The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, both of which just gross significantly less than their franchise installments. Furiosa is now following suit with a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, obviously not high on the list of stories general audiences desired. One other element could have worsened Furiosa's opening weekend, and it was competition. Although only one other film was released over the 3-day Memorial Weekend, which was Garfield, and that appealed to audiences and families much more. Any family who desired a holiday weekend theater trip will have to choose Garfield instead of Furiosa given the latter's R rating. This was proven by Garfield's almost identical domestic opening weekend of $31 million across the 4 days. Another way of determining how Furiosa performed was by comparing it to other Mad Max installments. Furiosa does not focus on the titular Mad Max for the first time in the franchise. That said, it's worth noting that the box office numbers for Mad Max, Mad Max 2 The Road Warrior, and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, per the numbers, are somewhat unclear due to their overall unpopularity, their old age, and primary demographic being Australia rather than the United States. Now hold on just a damn minute. I wanted to present this a certain way, but these type of articles, these types of theories, are flat out BS. Age, unpopularity. Why would you make a sequel to a film franchise if it was unpopular and only appealed to Australia? Screen Rant, this is one of the worst criticisms I've ever read. And it goes to show you that these films fail for multiple reasons, and Screen Rant wants to make up excuses, but we'll talk about excuses a little later on in this video. Now, back to what we were saying. With such difficulty presenting Furiosa's final worldwide total, it's best to look at what the film needs to be labeled as a success. Usually it's often stated that a tentpole Hollywood movie needs to earn 2.5 times their production budget to begin earning a profit. This takes into account marketing and distribution costs as well as any other outstanding fees and payments. While not a perfect metric, it's commonly used, and any film that earns beneath this threshold usually is classified by Hollywood as a box office bomb. As stated earlier, the film needs to earn a total of $420 million to begin earning any profit. This looks unlikely based on the film's opening box office, though strong word of mouth and aforementioned lack of competition could see it gain some legs at the box office. Finally, modern practices of VOD and digital sales make these predictions somewhat less accurate, as a film's success or lack thereof upon home video release could dictate whether it's a failure or a triumph. These are all sound reasons as to why Furiosa did not perform at the box office this weekend, but there is another reason, and it's not one the mainstream press will cover. There is a growing awareness of the messaging in films. Now, messaging in film is nothing new, however, the overabundance of it in today's films as a substitution for story has left fans burned and distrustful of their favorite franchises. The word woke gets thrown around a lot these days as a coverall for garbage entertainment, and it's always associated with recognizable IPs. Very few modern films are free of the rhetoric, and infusing classic franchises with the modern sensibilities of today is always a formula for failure. Fans do not support a film that is message over story. The culture war surrounding entertainment continues to grow more fierce, and fans are conditioned to expect failure from their formerly favorite things. That sense of distrust and hesitation are a contributing factor to the wait-and-see approach. Some blame the economic situations of today, but other films, which tend to be perceived as free from the messaging, are still able to make money. Last year had record-breaking bombs, but all of those films have the trappings of wokeness in the marketing around them, the cast, the press releases, and the articles surrounding the films. Many wonder how these contribute to a failing box office, but one comment on social media sums it up quite nicely. They could make an actual non-girl boss relatable female character in a well-produced movie and it still would flop. Why? The Boy Who Cried Wolf. The Access media have been for years heaping on praise for diverse pieces of cinema and running for cover from the studios when blowback and criticism follow. This time it's good, I'm telling you, the studios would say, and the prostitutes would happily oblige. Enough of that, and people will tune it out, even if it turns out this time that it indeed is a good piece of media. They did that to themselves. The possible reasons for Furiosa's failures are numerous and most likely a blend of the many reasons listed here today. No matter the reason, the outcome remains the same. The film is a failure, so far. However, it's always possible for a film to do better later in its theatrical release. Some all-time classic films have leggy box office performance. For context, a leggy film is a film that is measured by the ratio between their total domestic box office and their largest weekend gross. The higher the ratio, the better the legs. Some of the leggiest films of all time are Raiders of the Lost Ark, Amadeus, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Flashdance, Fantasia 2000, Top Gun, Titanic, Back to the Future, and Chariots of Fire all close out the top 10 of the leggiest films in history. As you see, some of the biggest films of all time were leggy. However, those films weren't as costly as Furiosa, and secondly, as stated earlier, Mad Max isn't as popular of a franchise that George Miller and Warner Brothers were hoping it would be. Though again, as stated earlier, the fact that films release on VOD much quicker than they used to gives this film less likely of a chance to earn it back big at the box office. 2024 is a year of science fiction dominating the box office. 4 of the top 5 films can be considered to have science fiction elements in them. Mad Max has those elements, but what it lacks is brand recognizability and a film without its main character. A Mad Max film without Mad Max was always destined to fail. Studios believe that a film set in the world of a recognizable brand will bring in money. But it's not the brand or the story, but the character. Mad Max is the brand. James Bond is the brand. The world those characters inhabit are important to the story, but secondary to the main character that audiences can relate to. It goes beyond male-female, but Hollywood would never expand upon a Ken spin-off, yet every franchise with a flashy new character gets all the buzz and hype surrounding the spin-off. Look no further than Marvel to watch this fail. Fans clamor for more Iron Man, yet Marvel gives them Iron Heart. Fans want Captain America, yet you get a Falcon in Cap's clothing. The upcoming Captain America film will suffer the same fate as Furiosa. Hopefully it'll be a message to Hollywood that fans want their favorite characters, not the characters adjacent to them. Ultimately, the overuse of branding fails again. Making a film that is bereft of what people love will only lead to disappointment. Mad Max fans may have a classic on their hands, but without Mad Max, they aren't showing up. Hollywood, take note. So those are just a myriad of reasons why Mad Max Furiosa failed. What do you think? Tell me down in the comments below. Here are today's 3 questions. 1, why do you think the film failed? 2, what did you think of the trailer? And 3, what is your favorite Mad Max movie? I'll be reading the comments down below, so let me know. This was foreseeable, we saw it coming a mile away, and it's no surprise. But as studios continue this, the box office is gonna fail, and we're gonna see more and more movies take a backseat to video games and other forms of entertainment because they're just not profitable. But the films that are bereft of a lot of the things that audiences hate today, i.e. the wokeness as people call it, those films tend to do better. Those films tend to have smaller budgets that do more at the box office. They show you that there's a dedicated fan base to those types of films. The future is not bright for Hollywood, but hopefully they change course before it's too late and fans will never come back. Some would argue it's too late, and I would agree. So folks, thank you for watching. I'll be back next time with more. In the meantime, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other.